So starting off today with the 2007 Les Paul Custom and the 2024 Les Paul Modern Studio in Smokehouse Burst, and then of course Cherry Sunburst on the Custom. Now these guitars should have, by specification, similar pickups. Now in a previous video we took the back panel off and looked at the wiring. We've also taken the strings off, reconditioned the fretboards on the Custom, and made it to where it's in its best shape that it's been in for years to be able to be in this comparison. Now, that said, we discovered that the pickups in the Custom have no markings on them except for the Gibson USA emblazoned markings. With that in mind, I was curious about, are they really 490R 498Ts? They look like 490R 498Ts, and as luck would have it, they do seem to match what it mounts. Middle 4.73, in the neck 7.4, that's for that 490R, 498T 13.13. Now that, like I say, is with everything set to 10, volume, tone, all of it set to 10. So with that in mind, let's plug it in to what we believe should be a legitimately bone stock, brand new 2024 Les Paul Modern Studio with the same pickups. Now we're on the Modern Studio. So, like I say, in the middle position, 4.71, the neck, 7.34, pretty close to the other one, and the bridge 13.17. So that's really close. That would be normal deviation in winding and impedance. Also, this Modern Studio has a different control system in it because it has the ability to do coil splits. So let's see if these are coil splits or coil taps. Oh, absolutely no difference. Oh, wait a minute, hold on. Bypass is a 13.51. So that bypasses everything and does change your output on the bridge pickup, because bridge otherwise is a 13.17. So when you hit the bypass, you really do get a much hotter version. Well, not a significantly hotter version, but a hotter version of that pickup. Phase reversal, no difference. But when you coil tap, see that if these were coil splits, that would cut that in half. So these really are just coil taps. So they are sonically creating sound. Let's see if it's any different in the bridge. Nope. Neck and bridge both have the same impedance, no matter whether they're in single or they're tapped or not. So like I say, that really is a genuine coil tap, not a coil split. So while the sound changes, it's still that pickup. But now it's time to get a little sound out of them. So before I jump into the audio part, I do want to go ahead and take a look at this PCB that's in the Modern Studio, and it looks so much like what I remember the Les Paul Modern looking like. No shielding or anything, nothing special on the actual backplate. Same goes for the actual toggle switch backplate. Don't know what the 2 is. I've never seen the 2 before. That's new. But you can see that these are the Modern CTS pots. And, you know, I'm probably going to pull the Modern out and just do a quick show you of the Modern's wiring. But this looks so much like a Modern's wiring to me, just with quick connects for the pickups. And I got to tell you, that means you could do anything you really wanted to inside of here with pickups. If you can find the plugs to go in, or you can do your own soldering to do plug to put in, plug pushing everything for any 4-lead pickup, you can put it in here, and that would give you, that's pretty, that in amongst itself means that this one is pretty flexible and easy to wire around without having to do any soldering other than the actual leads. So something to think about. This guitar is got some pretty good possibilities. Now we're inside of the 2021 Modern, and I wanted to just highlight how similar this looks. See the 4-wire gray leads and everything all set up to where, like I say, this setup and everything. So this is your neck, this is your this is neck, this is bridge, like I say, controls and everything. It's all so much like the Modern. So this really, the Modern Studio really is just this PCB inside of a different, I mean, the caps and everything are all, everything is basically the same. So this wiring setup really is just the same as what's in there. So we'll reference this in a different video later when we compare the Modern to the Modern Studio, because these two guitars, while completely different pickup systems, they have a lot of the same, you know, the swoop in there, the appointments, the ebony fretboard, the compound radius. These two are really close to each other in specifications, and these two really are very similar in the actual pickups. So the pickups themselves in these two are pretty much identical, even with the custom being 16 years older than the Studio. The custom's outputs on its pickups are pretty much identical to what's on there. That's a testament to how little the actual playing the custom has gotten used over the last 16 years, and the durability of the pickups themselves. But again, that wiring, that's basically the same. There's just little tiny differences, and that's mostly the difference between, these are like Pro Buckers in the Les Paul Modern, and the Modern Studio has 490R, 498T. These two will get compared in a different video, and that will be fun because they are both so similar in a lot of their other specs. But for now, back to the show. So another thing I wanted to do with these two guitars before I start playing them is weigh them, because I've always wondered what this custom weighs, because it feels like a heavy beast. So putting it on the scale, taking everything away, 9 pounds, 13.4 or 5 ounces. So 9 pounds, 13 ounces. Tell you what, let me unplug that lead first. Make sure that we don't get any kind of, actually 9 pounds, still 13.0 ounces. No, 9 pounds, 13 ounces. And for the Modern Studio, 8 pounds, 7.7 ounces. So well over 1 pound difference between these two. Like I say, what is this? Hold on. How much was that? Yeah, 8 pounds, 7. So 1 pound and 6 ounces. A pound and a half basically between these two. So that really does give you an idea that the custom is the old man heavy guitar, and the Modern Studio really is the lighter guitar. And a pound doesn't seem like a whole lot until you're carrying it around on stage for a long night of playing guitar. So again, almost 10 pounds versus only 8.5 pounds. That's a pretty big difference. All right, so old man guitar first. And I call this the old man guitar, not because it's an old man guitar. It's because it was my dad's Les Paul Custom, and it was a 07 model, and it matched his cherry sunburst doves that he had. So it was very much a guitar that belonged to an old man, because my dad was an old man. I'm an old man now, so I can say that kind of stuff. But this guitar, as we found out, and it looks so much better with the fretboard all cleaned up and the frets polished up. It's 100% better than it was in the past. This is probably the cleanest this guitar has been in a decade. Honestly, this guitar, but Dad got this guitar somewhere in the 2010 range as a used one, because he found one that matched the colors of the doves. This guitar has lived in its case most of its life. It's very much a pristine condition. There's very little shrinkage on the Gibson, on the Les Gibson logo at the top. You can kind of see where it's doing a little bit of shrinking right there. But for this era of Gibson Les Paul, it was really common to have pretty bad shrinkage on there. This was one of the first ones that was done by the actual custom shop, because it was somewhere around 2005, I think, maybe a little bit earlier, that they moved the production of the Les Paul Custom to the custom shop. And this one was, at being an 07, I want to say it's in the first 2 to 4 years of production. And yeah, it's number 218 for the 2007 model year. So again, this one is way, way, way better shape than a lot of ones that have seen much harder use. There's no checking. There's very little anything on this guitar. There's a little tiny scratch on this volume knob, but other than that, it's pretty pristine. A couple little dings from where my dad played it, but overall, he was mostly an acoustic guy that just wanted to have a Les Paul to match his doves. Got some clean samples last time, but here's a few more of them, just as a way of letting you know clean versus clean on the custom 490 R498Ts versus. Now, again, this is a hand-wired setup. So it's going to be really interesting to see how similar or different this sounds versus the PCB in the modern studio, because these two guitars, their outputs are so similar that they could either sound identical or they could sound completely different. This guitar's wiring matches up almost exactly to the wiring that's in the 2020 custom. So the custom shop has not changed anything since then. So let's go. Here we go. Clean tones first. So again, this will be the Les Paul Modern Studio, and it has what's seemingly very similar. Ebony fretboard, 490R, 498T. This one has some tricks. It does some coil tapping, but we are not really going to compare that because the custom can't do it. So it's not really fair to give it. Is it more flexible because of it? Take note, it is. But this guitar is a very plain back, and it does have the modern swoop on it, so it's a little easier to access the top. Frets, it does have the mother of pearl or acrylic Gibson logo, which is something new for a studio. There have been some studio special runs that did have that, but this is a standard production run. This is not some special run that Sweetwater did or Guitar Center or Sam Ash, nothing like that. The appointments on this one is black chrome. So the tips, the tuners, and the actual hardware has a lot of black chrome on it, and I like that. It does not have a switch washer, which, do you really need that? Probably not. But this guitar sonically should be pretty similar. So will it sound the same, or will it sound completely different because of the way the wiring is? Remember, hand wired versus PCB in the modern studio. So this guitar, like I say, it could sound the same or it could sound completely different. With everything set to 10, let's find out. So, on clean tones, they're really similar, but I feel like the custom has a louder neck pickup sound and the modern studio has a louder bridge. Now, I will say this, I am almost 100% positive that that pickup is closer on the studio in the bridge than what's on the custom, and that is probably the difference there. The front pickups pretty similarly distanced, it feels like. I haven't measured it to be sure, but they're pretty similar in distance apart from each other, so I'm not saying that we have a massive difference in there. But because these guitars are designed to be used for everything, let's go ahead and throw a little metal zone. So playing today through the Fender Twin Reverb 68 reissue. got it on the normal side, so it's not the Bassman side, the regular Twin Reverb side, and again throwing on a metal zone with pretty much everything set to the 12 o'clock position. So let's see what we get. I'm just not good enough at soloing. I'm a rhythm guy. But at least I tried, right? Neck pickup. Bridge pickup. Oh, that's a lot of feedback. Lots of one to feedback. Let's see how the custom does. Starting off in the middle position. Neck. Bridge. surprisingly similar. Surprisingly similar. And nothing against the custom. This, you know, it's just a personal preference when it comes to sound, but I kind of like the way that neck pickup sounds better on the studio, right? For like $1,000 less used. So if you go out and you go buy a brand new modern studio, it's $2,000. This guitar right here, you can probably get one for about $3,000. So $1,000 extra dollars, hand wiring versus the PCB in the modern studio. This guitar really is I don't know, sometimes you pick up custom shop stuff and it just doesn't feel right. And sometimes you pick up a custom shop guitar and you go, wow, that feels right. And this guitar and the 2020 Custom have the same feeling that when you play them, they just feel right in your hands. And they feel right. Now these frets are flatter than what's on the Custom, the 2020 Custom. This one is a different, I don't know if somebody came in and leveled the frets or what, but when you look at the 2020 Custom, it has a little more crown to its fret, and it's probably the fact that somebody came in and leveled the frets on this thing. Could also be that they were leveled off somewhere along the way because somebody played them that much, but it sure doesn't feel like it. I mean, the neck is so smooth that you almost feel like whoever owned it before my dad, because my dad didn't play it a whole lot because he was an acoustic guy, that somebody might have like done a ultra plec or something. Like, I don't even know. This guitar might have been before the plec machines really were in big use, but there's something about this guitar that is, when you play it, it just feels really comfortable. And by way of comparison, the Studio Modern, or the Modern Studio, depending on how you look at it, it feels good, and it's supposed to be a slim taper, but maybe I don't like the way the compound radius is. Now, if you play up here, and this is really where your hand fits, if you do a lot of soloing up here, if you are holding a guitar like this and if you're up here, this really makes a difference. I mean, like just holding it right here, it makes a difference. That little bit of carve right there, when you're holding it, I mean, and I'm just going to put my hand right here and flip it over to where you can kind of, man, I can't really get a good visual on it, but your hand fits right where that fits, and it feels good. Now, the High Performance Tributes had something similar that was smoother across this heel joint right here, right? Like they were sculpted across here. And that was the best feeling neck I think I've ever felt. And apparently the Apex neck carve has a different relief that's more like that. And I'll be honest with you, that might be worth it. Especially if you play a lot. I don't play up here enough to make that worth it. I'm a cowboy chord and like 10th to 12th fret as high as I go. So you got to really kind of be up here in the... You got to be up there in the 15th fret or more to really completely notice that. That said, it's nice when you have it. So, anyway, $2,000 modern studio versus $3,000-ish used 2007 Les Paul Custom. Depends on what you need. If you need the flexibility, if you just want to have one guitar, this guitar really is a solid choice. And you probably can get one of these used here pretty soon for a lot less than $2,000. So heads up, might be worth it. Till next time.